Welcome back to another podcast series from Open Adventures. Today we're going to be talking about a very special bike. The bike is popularly known as the King of the Desert, and I have a very special guest here, Nishil, who owns an Africa Twin. So let's get into it.
Hello.
Hey Nishil.
Hey.
So Nishil, first and foremost question. I want to know about the bikes that you've been riding over your years.
Yeah. My biking journey started really young. I used to ride my dad's 350cc when I was in like 7th standard, and that was my first bike.
Okay.
Then I think over a period of time, I started, all my friends moved on to much faster bikes, and it became difficult to catch up with them.
Okay.
So the moment college turned into college life, I wanted something that is very small, easier to ride, easier to park, easier to maintain.
More easier on the pockets as well for the fuel?
Yes, that was not there. My dad was paying it, so didn't feel much of a pinch over there. But yes, I wanted to catch up with the latest trend, be with them, make some noise on the road.
Some wheelies
yes,
as well?
Yes, wheelies and donuts and everything. All those things kind of inspired me. And with a lot of push and pull, managed to get a Suzuki Shogun.
Wow.
Post which career, family, everything took over, and then there was a pause. Two-wheeler just stopped. I moved to four-wheeler, and then post about 15 years, I knew I was getting, I was growing old and catching up on age. I didn't want to take any light bikes and hurt my back or any of those things, which I just heard people saying, right?
Okay.
Saying I've been riding for so long, my back is hurting, my knee is hurting. So I wanted a little bit of sophistication.
Okay.
Something that will take away the fear from me.
Okay.
So I was leaning towards technology, like
with the latest tech coming
ABS and traction control and things like that. So putting all this together, I didn't want to spend a lot of money, and the only thing that fit my budget at that point was 390 ADV KTM.
Okay, an Adventure 390.
Yes, Adventure. I had a good friend called Nelly. He was really instrumental in getting me back onto motoring, into the motoring world.
Okay.
So he was someone who I looked up to, and he was the one who actually guided me onto how I should sit on an ADV bike, and how you should turn, how to take steep turns, U-turns, how to slide the bike. There was a lot of inspiration from him that got me up and running.
So when you had, so if I have to go ahead and put this in simple words, well, we're going to go ahead and you were trying to go ahead and learn off-roading and all of the track riding. You suddenly became inspired about enduro riding, off-roading, and suddenly did that shift come into your mind that you wanted to pick up an Africa Twin?
I think just about a year since the time I owned a 390 KTM ADV, I felt there was too much of vibration.
Okay.
There was a need that I wanted to go above 140.
Okay.
KTM would cross 140, but with a lot of struggle.
Okay.
And some point of time I used to feel very unsafe on that.
Why?
Just because of the vibrations and limitation in power. It was not a smooth 140, right?
Okay.
It used to reach 110, 120 easily. Okay. Apart from that, I felt it was a struggle.
Okay.
And I wanted to do longer distance. It used to heat up really a lot.
A lot of heat between your legs.
A lot of heat. And the suspension was not so refined.
Okay.
That made me thinking that yes, it is time to upgrade. I need a much more robust, powerful engine.
Okay.
I was looking for good suspension.
Okay.
Larger fuel tank, which could carry a lot of weight, basically my luggage and stuff. So with that in mind, I had two vehicles which I had shortlisted. That was one was a BMW 1250 GS. Another was the Africa Twin.
Lovely.
So the first choice was the Africa Twin, just because it was backed up with a reputation of being a Dakar king,
the Desert King.
Desert King, sorry, and all the history that follows with it. So I walked up to the showroom and wanted a test ride.
Okay.
took a test ride. I was very, very scared.
Okay.
And I had to make a U-turn at some point of time. So the moment I was able to do a U-turn without keeping my legs down, I felt this is the most well-balanced bike I've seen or have heard about and felt. There was immediate love with it.
So that U-turn just changed the entire perspective about
it. It was more like, you see those movies, right? Those speedboats taking a turn.
Yeah.
I could just relate to that. It was beautiful, and with it elegantly just, I was able to make a turn without any hesitation. Didn't once feel that I will drop the bike. It's such a massive engine. None of those fear was in me. Went to the showroom. I wanted to book the bike. Asked them for the next lot of bikes that's available, and I was told, because it just came out of that COVID period or whatever, I was told that waiting period is minimum 6 months. There's no guarantee to that.
Right.
Which I was willing to.
Okay.
And then I spoke to the bank guys and everything. They said, only if the dealer assures that you will get a vehicle in 6 months in writing, will we proceed with the loan and everything.
Okay.
Then we went back and forth and everything. They couldn't give me any concrete answer.
Okay.
And all this happened. So I dropped. Then I was looking at 1250 GS. That also had waiting periods.
What did you feel about the 1250 GS? Did you ever get a chance to test ride it?
I test rode a bike that belonged to my friend.
Okay.
Somewhere I never had that confidence that I felt on Africa Twin.
Why so?
I'm not sure why, but I think it is just the bulkiness.
Okay.
It looked really huge compared to the Africa Twin. And I think the price factor also played something. Yeah. There was, price factor, the maintenance. After speaking to a couple of people, I heard that GS is really expensive to maintain. And the parts are even more expensive.
Okay. So you always loved enduro. Why not experiment or go ahead and lean towards owning a sports bike or any other bike apart from the Africa Twin or the BMW?
So yeah, I would love to have a sports bike, but the only thing that made me shift is my interest was more on touring.
Okay.
Long distance travel.
Not the speed.
No. Speed is, I cannot travel more than 100 kilometers, I think, in that speed. After that, my back is going to give up. So okay. I wanted something where I could sit straight, have a clean seating position,
okay,
stretch out my arms, crunch some miles.
And a good comfort. You were talking about a very good comfortable riding. So what was the first thoughts when you what came up to your mind when you saw how the bike looked like? I want you to go ahead and give us some more, I would say, insight onto the design bit of the bike.
Oh my God. Africa Twin has one of the best designs that I've ever seen. I think closest would come the Ducati. The headlights, they are so distinctive. Those LED lights, you just fall in love with that immediately. It's got clean lines. It's a very, what do you say? It's a very rugged looking bike.
Okay.
It's a mix of ruggedness and sophistication.
Okay. I want to ask one question that I normally ask all the big bikers. What does status play as far as owning a big bike is concerned?
In context to that, I think even now, the Indian mindset is that owning something big has a lot to do with wealth. Right?
All right.
That's one of the reasons I feel the SUVs are selling like hotcakes everywhere. Okay. And if you have a real big bike and you're moving around, somewhere people feel he's well off to do and he's
well achieved.
Yes, yeah, well
achieved.
So
it's like I would say it's more like benchmarking your achievements.
Absolutely,
with your bike.
absolutely. Yes.
So I want to talk a little bit more about why would you, again, after the design, why move into a 1000cc or liter class engine? Like you see that most of the 650cc's, the 750s and the 800cc's which are on the market right now, why that drastic shift from a 390 to a liter class?
So when
you mentioned earlier that
absolutely,
one was because of the long touring that you'd love to do, but why a liter class? I'm very curious to know.
One, there was not much options in terms of 600 or 800 cc's there. There was the Tyre and the Versus. So one of the reasons that I wanted Africa Twin specifically is the DCT functionality, which is very unique about Africa Twin, that drove me towards taking the bike after test ride. So most of your work of changing gears, everything is taken care of by the bike. Okay.
Okay.
So let me say, it is more of a lazy rider. So
okay.
I don't have to think about what gear I am in. It's like these automatic cars nowadays, right? I don't have to think about anything. All I have to pay attention is about my riding skills, okay, how I have to go, where I have to go, enjoy the scenic surroundings, okay, and enjoy the ride. I don't have to worry about what RPM, where I am.
Nishil, can you help us understand a little bit about the DCT function of your bike? And I want to know the pros and the cons of the DCT function as well.
Right. So my bike has a DCT dual clutch transmission. There are two main modes to that. One is the automatic, okay, which is really smooth and helpful in the urban city rides, okay, stop and go traffic, and long distance riding. It eases out the thoughts or strain that you want to put into what gear you are, whether it's uphill, downhill. You don't have to worry about all that. The bike takes care of all that. That is the automatic part. There are times when you want to control the bike, where you want to be sure on what gear you want to be, and you don't want the vehicle to override that. That is when you switch to the manual mode, and you can shift the gears the way you want using paddle shifters. Okay. That is where you have more control over the bike and the gears. Yes, what you are doing.
The pros and the cons.
The pros are, like I said, it is very relaxing. You don't have to think about anything. You can go on for miles and miles. Okay. There is no physical stress basically. You don't strain yourself shifting gears frequently. That is taken care by the bike. The cons would be it adds about 25-30 kgs to the bike. Okay. And the cons, again, another point what I would bring up is, this is my personal thing, especially in the twisties, the bike shifts gear when I don't expect it to shift. Okay. Like when I'm taking a sharp hairpin bend, my bike doesn't take the lean angle into consideration, the new bikes do. Okay. So once it comes to a certain band in RPM and speed, it switches gear, especially when I'm making a sharp U-turn. And that throws me off and I lose balance. It could be really potentially dangerous some point of time. So what I do is I shift to manual mode at that point of time. Okay. Especially in twisties, I only ride it on manual, so I have the control on what gear I am in. Okay. And so gives me a balanced riding experience of having automatic and the manual. So I'm pretty good with that.
Coming back to the next question, I want to know, can you ride a normal geared bike now?
Honestly, no. I just can't do. There are good friends of mine who own an DCT Africa Twin, okay, and who own a really normal manual bike, and they can switch onto both in a jiffy. But one, I don't have another bike to know, but somewhere I'm very petrified to take a manual transmission, because I've tried it on my friend's bike, and I have to keep telling myself that, you know, the RPM is reducing, you have to shift gear, you have to pull the clutch. It's too much of a stress right now for me. I think I'll eventually buy a small bike and test out, and if I'm comfortable with it, then I'll upscale myself.
Hope you don't end up with an Activa again, because it's automatic.
No, not an Activa. It'll be a geared bike this time, definitely.
Let's go into the next segment about your bike. I want to know the maintenance cost that is involved with your bike. How expensive is it to maintain an Africa Twin?
So when you compare the cost of maintenance to the capabilities of the bike, I think it kind of nullifies the whole thought of being expensive there. Your brake checks, your oil change, your regular checkups, right, would vary from around 6,000 to 10,000 rupees. The largest chunk of the maintenance, I think, would lean more towards the tires.
Okay. How expensive are the tires?
The tires depends on what kind of riding that you're into. Okay. But on an average, a pair would cost you around 35 to 40,000. So with the kind of off-roading and riding onto uncharted territories.
Okay.
My tires burn out really fast.
How fast?
About 8,000 to 10,000 kilometers is a decent mileage on those tires. Post which I lose confidence on them. They start slipping at places where I want the actual traction to be there. Okay. So, however said and done, you end up doing at least 2 pairs of tires for a year.
A year?
Yes.
Oh.
And mileage is quite decent. I think you have a big bike, right? So there is no use running it in a very economic mode and all that. I don't believe that. Okay. In city, yes, it makes sense to go on an economic mode. But once I step out of the city zone, I would go to the top settings, and when I ride in that, I get about 13 Ts per mileage.
What about the accessories? What type of accessories and how expensive are the accessories for the Africa Twin?
So to enhance the comfort and to protect the bike as much as possible, I've first and foremost thing is I've put the bark busters, so my fingers are safe during crashes or falls, and also protects the levers. I'm more worried about the front lever. I don't have a clutch.
Okay.
So that's one. Then any of these so-called super bikes, that is a liter bikes, liter and above, Crashguard is a must.
Okay.
So you will eventually drop it, right? There is no way that you will not drop the bike. And the moment you drop the bike, the first thing are the huge fairings at the side. That's going to break. And these OEM parts are very expensive. So I would not recommend anybody to take the bike out of the showroom without guards. Okay. Engine guard and the crash guards. So that is something that I've added on to. Then I have the headlight guards that protect to a certain extent from the pelting of stones when you go off-road. Then what else? Then I have a Scotlier oil lube.
Okay.
Lube on the go. Yes. So on the go, I don't have to worry about whether the chain is lubed, whether it's clean. So the oiling system keeps dropping oil all through my drive. Okay. Right? So I can go for 800 kilometers, 1000 kilometers and not carry a can of spray to keep lubing it. Right. It is taken care of.
I want to know one very interesting thing which I saw on your bike. Tell us about that bags that you have in the front and what exactly is in it.
I mean, like I said, it's a huge bike, and when you push it onto trails and when you take it to off-road events or hill climb or any of those things, you will eventually drop it, right? And the most expensive part is the fairing.
Yep.
So to protect it, you have the crash bars. Every time the crash bars are bent, you spend a couple of thousands to straighten it up.
Yep.
So then I came up with an idea like, why don't we add a bag above the crash bar? I have a small tire that's been cut into half. It's been bent end to end and has been placed into this. This acts like a cushion when you drop the bike, right? It takes majority of the impact and stops it from passing over to the engine guard or the crash guard. That has helped me a lot. Mine is more heavier because it's a tire, but I would recommend that people use semi-deflated footballs or basketballs or something there. That really helps.
How effective are they?
They're very, very effective.
How many times have you crashed till date?
Oh, no, I haven't crashed as such. I've dropped the bikes a lot of times. Okay. So what typically happens is when you drop it on a rock, right? The first thing is the guard, the engine guard, that two solid things. Yep. When they hit onto each other, it's going to bend and it's eventually going to cave into your fairing or one of those parts. So one is you have to reposition or remove the bend from the crash bars, which is expensive. Two, if it impacts the panel or the fairing, it's even more expensive. But since the time I started adding these bags, I didn't really need any bend removals or anything. They act really, really well. They take the shock pretty well. You've seen these boats, right?
Yep.
When they come to the what do you call harbor? Yeah, when you come to the harbor,
The dockyards.
Dockyards. You see a lot of tires. That is where the inspiration came in.
Oh, lovely. Would you like to call this as the great Indian Jugaad?
Yes, it is an Indian Jugaad, definitely.
I noticed that you don't normally have any panniers on your bike, nor do you have any stays. The saddle stays on your bike. How do you manage carrying luggage?
The bike itself is quite large, and I was not comfortable. I'm still not comfortable adding, stays in bigger boxes, panniers to the side. One, it makes it very difficult when I'm doing the trails. So I don't want to get stuck between trees just because of the panniers. So most of my luggage is on duffel bags.
Duffel bags.
You get those good waterproof duffel bags, which I tie it up, wrap it on my seat. It is more easy, and it kind of becomes a part of the bike. So you don't feel something that is extra, that's protruding, and you have to pay attention to whether it will fit into the gap or whether it's going to hit some auto or other vehicles.
I want to know a little bit more about, since this is the Africa Twin that we're talking about, what is that one memorable ride that you have had where you have done some extreme riding?
One of the craziest off-roading thing that I've done was, I am not able to recollect the small village in Kerala. I did it with this person called C.H. Sadler.
Okay.
That is one of the craziest thing any human can ever do. The whole ride were with X-Pulse and Himalayans and all those bikes.
Okay.
And there was me and one more person who thought we could achieve what those bikes could, and we took those. He also had an Africa Twin, and me, and there were two Africa Twins, both of us. And it scares the shit out of me even till now. It is something that you have to really experience. And it was raining. There is absolutely no road. There are big boulders as such. Yes, that is something that I wouldn't try again.
Right. So next question. I'm going to go ahead and drop these questions very quick to you. How good is the bike on the twisties? Good, bad, yay, nay?
The bike is well balanced, right? There's no doubt about it. Though it is about 250 kgs, it is very well balanced. The ergonomics are superb. You have a good comforting seat. The handling is beautiful. The suspensions are amazing. But for some reason, maybe it's my riding skill or limitation or whatever it is, I kind of find it difficult to take those sharp twisties. Maybe it's because of the 21-inch front wheel, or the weight of the bike, the height of the bike, or it's all in combination. I kind of find it a little difficult to do the twisties, sharp twisties.
So you mentioned earlier about the tires being very expensive. I want to know, what are the tires that you have tried on your bike?
Oh, I've tried all kinds of brands. I have tried from Karoo Street, I have tried Shinko, I have tried Mitas, I have tried TKC 70, TKC 80. A couple of them that I've tried is, but my recommendation would be, if somebody is trying to get into off-roading, Karoo Street is a decent priced semi off-road tires that they should definitely try. And if they're doing long distance and a little more of hardcore off-roading, Mitas is a good one.
Right. Okay. What about the RSA? Have you ever used it?
Yes. I do have RSA. I've been fortunate or unfortunate, but I've used it just once. But it is nice to know that you have a backup. Mentally, you have some kind of peace that in case there is a breakdown or in case there is some emergency, that there is some assistance that will come and relieve you from wherever you are.
Right.
And it really helps you go for longer distances.
And the last question, your next upgrade?
My next upgrade would be a 1300. And I'm really trying anything and everything to get my hands on it. It makes it even more interesting for me because they have this automatic mode as well.
Okay.
So I think it will be an easy transition for me from a DCT Africa Twin to a 1300 GS.
Right. So you still have the BMW in your mind?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's more nimble, and it's more less bulky now.
Thank you. Nishil, thank you so much for being on the show here with us. Thank you so much for explaining a lot about your experiences with the Africa Twin. And for our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in to this particular podcast. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to our show. Thank you so much, and have a lovely day ahead.
Yeah. Thank you.